And welcome back once again. We're here for
another comic review, Dave. Shocker.
I'm Dave.
I'm David Komer.
And
he's Dave Herndon.
This time we're bringing you Trio.
Trio from IDW, written and drawn by John Byrne.
John Byrne.
A legend in comic circles.
He's been out of the superhero game for a good many years. This is basically his reintroduction.
And Dave, does it show is the question.
You know, I'm not sure that it does. I mean, it's still well written. It's well drawn.
I loved the art.
I like the story. I'm not 100% sure that I like the fact that he's basically just making fun of his days on the Fantastic Four.
That's, Dave, that's one of the issues. Basically, Trio, got rock, paper, and scissors. And no, I'm not making that up. The other creative name that they go by is 1, 2, and 3. Again, we're not making this up.
Well, basically, the team calls themselves 1, 2, 3. They were nicknamed by the media Rock, Paper, Scissors.
A very scurvy media member, as I recall. Somewhat tabloid-esque, TMZ-ish.
But I do have to tell you, overall, I really enjoyed the book. It was definitely John Byrne right from the start. You could tell right from page 1, it was like putting on an old glove.
It was really cool to just get back into the mind of John Byrne again. I felt instantly transported just opening up the first few pages. At a time, there were moments where it seemed like the storytelling seemed a bit dated, like maybe we're reading something from 1985. But I have to say, anytime you thought you had it figured out, John Byrne would throw a curveball. There's one that happens kind of early on that really just sends everything askew, where I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, and then again at the end you find out the big secret about one of the team members, and that's not something I was expecting.
Right.
Again, it's kind of taken out of another comic, somewhat, sort of, but...
Well, the one issue with this, I thought, that was hard to gauge, was how much John Byrne was poking fun at the Fantastic Four, and then, like, how much of this, like I said, some of it seemed almost dated in its references or in just how the setup of the story when it was writing in third person, and I wondered if some of it was hidden sarcasm or if some of it was an in-joke. But I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, but there were traces that seemed like he was kind of aping the Fantastic Four.
I think that's exactly what he was going for, is he was just trying to bring light to the fact that, hey, this is my comeback and it's paying homage to what I did in the past, but it's kind of my new thing. Another thing I really liked about the book is it's another one of those books. It's a non-traditional type print. It's on like cardstock instead of the traditional glossy book. Really gives a different look to the art.
I kind of miss the glossy, I can't lie. I'm not a fan of the paper stock.
I really like the cardstock in the sense that you're not smudging. You're not going to smudge anything. The ink's not rubbing off on your hands.
Okay, grease hands.
Hey, I got an issue sometimes. I'm a big guy. The other thing I thought was really cool about this is you get to see the color or the black and white version of the cover just by flipping over the book. I
like that. That was pretty cool.
Like, you get to see John Byrne's drawing, and then you get to see what it looked like after his colorist.
Right.
And, but basically you've got, Rock, which is a flat-out rip-off of the thing.
Right.
Paper is basically a female Reed Richards.
Right.
But then the other guy is nothing like Johnny Storm. His arms turn into
blades,
knives, or scissors.
Right.
So rock, paper, scissors. It's basically a generic introductory issue. They're fighting an unnamed group of baddies.
And a traditional kind of bank robbery kind of like gets kind of blown up, literally. Everything gets thrown askew. And that's where the curveball came in, and I really thought it was cool. And I had kind of a hard time getting into it early on, but once that happened, I was in. Then they introduced a sea creature.
This is definitely not really a spoiler, but it's a preview to issue 2. All of a sudden, bam, a giant sea monster being led by smaller sea creatures that are attacking whatever city this is. I don't remember if it was set in New York or some fictional city.
Yeah, somewhat generic.
I think it's just a generic fictional city.
Right.
But I got to tell you, the book was everything I expected it to be, but not.
Yeah.
Like, I expected it to be a flat-out rip-off of the Fantastic Four, and there's really some depth to the characters, there's some depth to the storytelling, but it does leave you a little bit ambiguous as to, is he trying to make fun of it, or is it just...
I'll have to disagree a little bit. I didn't really find a lot of depth of the characters. I thought the only character that was really, you really got an insight into was Rock. With the other two characters, not so much. I would have at least liked to have seen maybe a couple squares on both the girl and on Paper and on Scissors. And you know, there's a moment in here where Paper gets pretty severely injured. Again, there's no real reason to care about her, just because our entrance into their world basically explained almost nothing about her. In fact, I think it basically explained nothing. So it was a little problematic in areas, but overall, I really enjoyed the story.
You know, it comes time to rating, I got to give this one a solid B. It's definitely room to improve, but it's not bad in any way to me. I know you probably didn't think quite as highly of it, but...
Oh, I'll give it a B, definitely. Especially being that it's the first issue, you're establishing this world, you're getting the characters set up, and frankly, he created a team that you're going to want to care about, especially given the events. I mean, a lot happens in this first issue, and I think it really sets the table for what might be a really neat story arc on a couple different levels.